The Art of Leadership Network.
Hey leaders, welcome to the LeadCulture podcast. We are a part of the Art of Leadership Network. I'm your host, Jenni Catron, CEO of the Foresight Group. We're a company dedicated to helping leaders develop thriving teams. Each week, I'll be your guide as we explore practical strategies to equip you with the tools you need to lead with clarity, confidence, and build unstoppable momentum in your organization. My mission is to be your trusted coach, empowering you to master the art of self-leadership so you can lead yourself well to lead others better. Each week, we take a deep dive on a leadership or a culture topic. You'll hear stories from amazing guests and leaders like you who are committed to leading well. So let's dive in and keep learning on this leadership journey together. Friends, today we're talking about the equip phase of the LeadCulture Framework, because culture doesn't just stay alive through good intentions. You've heard that a bit as you've heard some of the stories of some of the leaders we've talked to in this series. Good culture thrives when leaders provide the tools, the playbooks, and pathways that help people know what to do and how to do it. We have to constantly be reminding people of who we are and how we work together to achieve the mission. Equipping is what takes a vision and values off the wall and makes them actionable in the everyday. It's how you prepare your team for taking ownership, giving them confidence to lean in and lead with alignment in your culture, and create a consistent playbook that everyone can operate from. And so I want you to be thinking a little bit about the leaders on your team. See, one of the things that we are finding, and research bears this out, is that cultures are made or broken by the leaders, by our people managers. Gallup's most recent State of the Workplace report that you've probably heard me talk about says that only 31% of U.S. workers are engaged in their work. And part of what they found, if you read deeper in that study, is that their direct manager has a big impact on that employee's engagement. In fact, I was reading something in Harvard Business Review today that talked about how if somebody has a good manager, like even if they go on and work for somebody else, if they've had a good manager, that what they learn stays with them and they continue to grow and develop. Like, it's astounding to me how important our leaders are to our success. And so the equip phase of the framework is about making sure that every leader at every level of your organization is helping a lead in alignment with your culture. And guys, I don't want you to leave this to chance. Here's what often happens. You do really good work. You assess your culture. You define what you aspire to. You build out those values. You begin to operationalize them. You've given some definition to your culture. And then you get some of the rhythms in place in the build phase. You've built your employee journey grid, and you've started to create some of these rhythms for reinforcing your culture. But if your people managers at every level of the organization aren't reinforcing that for you, it will unintentionally sabotage your culture. John Maxwell says the single biggest way to impact an organization is to focus on leadership development. There is almost no limit to the potential of an organization that recruits good people, raises them up as leaders, and continually develops them. So this is the equip phase. This is what we're talking about, in that we want to make sure we are developing leaders who are helping reinforce that culture we've defined. Guys, culture's fragile. Like, if I could help you grasp this, and you know it, actually you felt it. You felt it when your culture is going sideways and you're like, I don't know how to get this back. It's fragile. And so we've got to make sure that our leaders are equipped to help reinforce it. A few years ago, Barna released a report that said 82% of young adults say that society is facing a crisis of leadership because there are not enough good leaders right now. Whew, that's heavy, isn't it? That young leaders are saying, I don't think there are good leaders out there. I'm not having good experiences with good leaders. And now I'm not saying they're 100% correct, but I have seen it bear out time and time again. And here's why. Because we have great team members who are doing a great job. They're contributing effectively, and we promote them into more responsibility that typically involves additional management of other people. And we don't recognize that it's a whole other skill set that they need to develop in order to actually lead others well. That there's actually a new set of skills that they need. And here's the thing, they will feel it and they will get frustrated because they don't know where to go. They don't know how to get the training, coaching, mentoring, et cetera, that they need. And so I want to just implore you as culture champions to recognize that you need to purposely invest in your people leaders all throughout the organization. What we found is that the workplace landscape has elevated the expectation for leaders. In fact, most younger leaders have higher expectations of their direct managers, and they're more skeptical of senior leadership. And so what that's doing is it's creating really big expectations on like our mid-level managers. And so I want to encourage you to be thinking about how are you developing your mid-level leaders to really support the culture you've defined. Remember, we call it lead culture because we need great leaders leading our culture. Now, you might remember if you are an avid listener of the podcast, we did a series this summer called the Summer Leadership Institute. And what we did is we took you through 8 different skills that leaders need. And this is a great starting point. Like if you're recognizing, okay, our leaders need some support, where do I start, Jenni? Because that's the big question, right? Is like, as soon as you recognize that, or are just willing to kind of bring forward and acknowledge that your leaders need some development, it feels overwhelming. I have absolutely been there. I have felt the overwhelm of, oh my gosh, there's so much to train and I have so little time. Like it's one hat of many that I wear. Many of you are in organizations where you don't have a dedicated leadership development person and you're thinking, I know we need it. I just don't know how to do it. What I want to encourage you to do is just do what you can do simply and consistently. Something simple that you can consistently do. So if you did nothing else, go back to our Summer of Leadership Institute or Summer of Leadership series and have all your people managers listen to those episodes. That's a great starting point. In fact, even make it simpler than that. Pick one of those topics that you feel like, you know what, I think this would be a good one for all of our people managers, and send the podcast to them and then get them together for 45 minutes to have a discussion about it. And just do that once every 2 weeks or once a month. That's a starting point. That's you beginning to equip your leaders so that they're prepared to help support your culture. Now, a couple other things that are really critical in equipping is making sure that you've onboarded your existing team to what you've defined, especially your leaders, that you have assessed your culture, you've defined it, you've gathered that culture team together. They're really excited because they've done really good, thoughtful work. And all of you in that room feel like it's obvious now. You know exactly who you are and how you work together to achieve your mission. The problem is the rest of the staff have not had the privilege of being in all those conversations and hearing all of that dialogue and understanding how you arrived there. So even though you've probably done a reveal at your all staff and you've talked about it and you've begun doing things in your employee journey grid, I want to encourage you to still consider, how else can we communicate this to our staff? I want you to build a playbook. Think about it. It's the fall. If you're listening to this when we release it, football season has just started. And when you're watching football, it's like the coach is on the sideline with that little laminated sheet with all the plays, and the quarterback's got his little wrist thing that gives him all the, shorthand version of the plays. Like without a playbook, it would be chaos on the field. The same is true for your team. So everything that you have been defining for your culture needs to get distilled into a playbook. There needs to be language, and make it fun and exciting. Get your graphic designer people to design it so it's pretty and it's engaging. But get everything we've talked about in the LeadCulture Framework. I hope you've read Culture Matters, because in it I walk you through every piece of this puzzle. It is absolutely your roadmap to help you build your culture. But then I want you to build this playbook of like, what does this look like for us? So you want to be thinking about that. You want to create visuals and tools and things like, so, a lot of teams will put their values with their sticky statements on the wall, and they'll do something really clever and creative in their office spaces. A lot of times we roll our eyes because we've seen that done a lot. Well, you've done so much more work. That's going to be a helpful reminder rather than something people are like, I've never heard that before, but it sounds great on the wall, but it's not what we do. Well, you've built the system to actually do it. So be proud of it and put it up so that team members see it regularly. One of the teams that I've had the privilege of working with has built these little like note card things where if you see somebody living out a value, you mark it on this little note card and you give them the sticky note and you hand it to them and celebrate them living out the value. You can find all kinds of clever and creative ways to make sure that you are reinforcing this and really reminding your team of what you're doing and why you're doing it. And then you want to be sure that you're onboarding your existing team to the culture you've defined. So if you remember, when you did your employee journey grid, you thought through, how am I going to onboard new employees to our culture to make sure they get it? Well, you want to do the same thing for your existing team. Again, your culture team knows it inside and out. So ask them, hey, if you're one of the other team members, what do you need to help you really embrace and embody this and make it your own? So one team that I worked with did a road show. They had like 6 different locations. And so their culture team went in like 2s and 3s, and they met with every one of their respective sites and sat down with them for like a couple-hour workshop and walked them through the culture of what they defined, the values, beliefs, behaviors, the who we are statements, all these pieces of the puzzle. They walked every team through it and brought them on board, got them to speak into it and help them kind of embrace and embody it. And it's so critical to making sure every person on the team understood the culture. So some of the things you can do is just review what needs to be communicated. Like, what are we been talking about as a culture team that we need to be sure everyone hears? And then brainstorm ways to roll that out and give it the appropriate time. It will feel like you're giving a lot of time and attention to this, but I promise you, it is absolutely worth it. It is absolutely worth the energy and the effort that you will give to make sure everybody is moving forward with you and understands why you created and defined the culture that you did. So make sure you're doing that. Remembering that repetition is the key to remembrance. Repetition is the key to remembrance. You want to think through, how do we repeat this from different ways and different angles so that everybody on our team has a chance to really understand and get caught up to the culture. And then one other thing I want to talk to you about today is a tool we call the Culture Engagement Funnel. And this is one of those tools that it's like, this helps you kind of keep a pulse on, is everybody catching up with the culture we've defined? It's a simple graphic that if you have the Culture Matters book, you can find it let me tell you what chapter. I can't tell you what chapter right off the top of my head. It's in the equipping chapter, but I can't remember which chapter it is specifically. But it is just a simple graphic that demonstrates what's happening as you begin to live into your culture. And what's on the left side is what leaders are doing, and on the right side is what employees are doing. And so let me kind of give you just an idea of what's happening from the top to the bottom. It's kind of a funnel. So picture kind of a funnel. And at the top of the funnel, leaders are defining the culture we aspire to, and employees are just listening to it. They're just hearing it. They're, starting to take it in. As we move down the funnel, leaders are communicating, this is how we'll work together through the lens of the values grid, those values, beliefs, behaviors. And employees are beginning to learn it. They're internalizing it a little bit more, right? So everybody's moving down the funnel a little bit. By the middle of the funnel, leaders are modeling that culture by living into the rhythms that we defined in the employee journey grid, right? So you're moving down that funnel, and then employees are now experiencing it. They're like, oh, they mean this. They're serious about this. This is like, I'm beginning to see this in actuality. It's not just talk anymore. I'm actually experiencing it. And then we move even further down the funnel, and employees are embodying the culture, right? Like now they've experienced it. So now the employees start taking the lead. They start embodying the culture. and the leaders are supporting them through coaching. So the relationship kind of flip-flops. Now the employees are taking more ownership in it and leaders are supporting it. And then at the bottom of the funnel, employees are teaching the culture and leaders are celebrating it. And so what I want you to notice, and again, if you have Culture Matters book, this is a great one to go look at the visual of it, is you want to get to a place where, of course, as the leaders and culture team, you're doing a lot of the education at the beginning, but there comes a point where that flip-flops, where employees are now embodying it, they're teaching it, they're living it out because of how they experienced it. And that is ultimately the goal. That is what we want to happen in our cultures, is that it's not just something that the leaders or the culture team have prescribed. It's something that everybody is experiencing and everybody is embodying. When we do that and we see that, we know that we have equipped our leaders at every level to lead culture. So friends, lots of things to think about there, but I want you to just pay attention to your tendencies to want to move on because you've done so much work. And I want to applaud you for all the work you've done because it is so significant. It's so meaningful. It matters. It's important, but don't give up on it at this place. You want to make sure that every leader at every level of your organization is equipped to support it. And I really do want you to be thinking strategically about how are you equipping your leaders? How are you equipping your people managers to first have a true philosophy of leadership? Do they know what they believe about leadership? Do they believe that leadership is sacred work, that it is a privilege to lead others? It's not just another task on their to-do list. It's actually a core part of what they get to do. They get to change and affect the lives of the people that they lead. And so their primary responsibility once they take on people management is to develop people. And the rest of their job is secondary, important, but secondary. The people development is the most important thing that they need to be attentive to. And they need to shift their thinking and then they need to shift their behavior to support that. And then do they have a good understanding of this culture? Have they bought into it? Do they understand what you're aiming for? And therefore, are they reinforcing it? Do they know how to have conversations in a one-on-one meeting to reinforce with their team members the values that they're seeing in action or not seeing in action? Your people managers need to be able to sit in a one-on-one and say, hey, Tom, I really appreciated how you lived out our value of believing the best in that meeting last week. When you did that, you reinforced this value in our culture. Or, hey, Sue, when you did this, you actually probably unintentionally violated our culture. You didn't really live into this value. Tell me more what was going on there. Are your people managers equipped for those coaching conversations that help reinforce your culture? You see where those conversations become so critical to the day-to-day behavior and ultimately operationalizing your culture. So here's a couple of questions for you. In the book, I call these the clarity checks, things that you can do to just check in on how are we doing on this phase. Do you have a good pulse on the strengths and weaknesses of your people managers? In the book, I give you 8 skills, and those were the ones we also did in the summer leadership series. 8 skills that are essential for leaders to help lead culture. So go rate your people managers on that, 1 to 5. How are they doing? 1 is they're really bad at this. 5 is they're great. Rate them individually, rate them as a group, whatever you think is helpful, but that will help you kind of know where to focus your energy and effort. Do you have a good plan for ongoing development of your people managers, right? Do you have a plan for ongoing development? Something very simple, but very consistently that you're making sure you are equipping your people managers to be able to have the skills for leading others. And if you're struggling with that, reach out to us at Foresight because we can get on a call. One of our coaches can help you build a leadership development plan. Very simple, and we would love to do that. And then, do you have a plan for ongoing development of all of your staff, right? Every leader at every level needs to be equipped to live into your culture, which means they need to be great leaders living out those values, beliefs, and behaviors that you've defined. And so, what does your leadership development plan look like for your entire staff? We have to equip our leaders to lead our culture. And so I hope this gives you some things to think about, maybe too many things. I have a tendency of throwing the kitchen sink at you. So pick one thing that you heard me talk about today and take action on it. Simple and consistent, patient and persistent. You've heard me say those words frequently, right? That is how great cultures are developed. So stay the course. Don't get overwhelmed. I'm trying to give you lots of information, and I want you to pick the one thing you can focus on, and then you can come back and you can pick another thing after you feel like you've gotten some traction with that one. And I want to tell you about our new network that I'm launching. You guys, I am so excited about this. It's been a while since I've launched something that I am super excited about, and I want to tell you about the LeadCulture Network. So, I am a culture geek. I have been focused on developing the framework and helping coach leaders and teams through it. And that has absolutely been such a joy. But what I've found is that a lot of times you are culture champions. You are out there in the trenches, doing your thing, making it happen. And you're often the only one on your team who is focused on culture, right? Maybe one or two other people value it, but you're kind of the one who wakes up thinking about this. You see culture under everything, and you feel this frustration and anxiety over wanting to fix it all at once, and you can't. And you get a little frustrated when somebody else doesn't quite see it, and they kind of get it, but they don't. And so I've been wanting to create a network of leaders like you, culture champions, that I can connect with one another so we can keep learning together. So the LeadCulture Network is a space designed for executive leaders who are committed to building thriving teams and stewarding culture with intention. And so here's what the network's going to include. First, we're going to include the LeadCulture course library. So I have recorded videos on every element of the LeadCulture framework. It is now all on video. It's being edited as I speak. And so practical tools from the framework with videos and workbooks to help you have the resources to lead through the framework and really build your culture. It's also going to include the Leadership Institute course, which is in-depth learning for your personal leadership development. A lot of those skills we talk about that leaders need, we have in that course. And so that's going to be included in the network as well. Every month, I'm going to do live group training where I'm going to share fresh content to equip you with strategies that work. I'm going to look at trends. I'm going to look at data, and you're going to be the first ones to hear some of these insights. And I'm going to kind of be workshopping it in real time with you to say, hey, here's what I'm learning. Here's what I'm seeing. How about you? So those are live trainings that are only available to people in the network. This is stuff I'm not going to share out. I'm going to share it in the network first. And then monthly Q&A calls. The LeadCulture certified coaches are going to facilitate monthly Q&As, hot seat calls, where you can jump in and share what's going on in real time in your organization, and we're going to coach you through it. And then finally, we've got the Culture Champion community, which is a community of leaders who understand the weight that you carry, and they will sharpen you by sharing insights, sharing perspectives, sharing ideas, sharing what they're doing with their teams. You're going to have that community that you can network with and find peers who are excited about growing and leading culture as well. Guys, culture is too important to do in isolation. It's just too important. So together, we will build unstoppable teams that grow and thrive and live out your purpose. And I would love for you to be a founding member. We are starting with founding member pricing. You get lifetime pricing if you join as a founding member of only $49 a month. That's less than $600 a year to invest in your culture. And so I want you to join us and be a founding member of the LeadCulture Network. Pricing goes up in January. So we're early bird group gets the best pricing and gets to kind of help us build out this network in a way that really serves you well. So I would love for you to consider that. You can join the waitlist by clicking the link in the show notes or just shoot me an email at jennicatron@getforesight.com. Friends, culture matters. And I hope you recognize the significance of your influence, the importance of the work, and I hope that you are faithfully staying committed to it, because I get to hear stories day in and day out. I've shared some of those with you in the last few weeks of organizations and leaders that have done this work and done it so incredibly well. So stay the course, jump into the network, Let us know how we can serve you well. So keep leading well, and we will see you next week.